Okay, let me review where we're at, both in terms of the proposed agreement and also in terms of some of the issues that have been raised in regards to the project. First, let me mention that since the Beitler organization was selected to work on this project, we have not had any delays. The project is on time and on schedule. I think that should be understood. The proposal that's going before the Common Council in the next day includes some modifications and changes to proposals that were brought in regards to the last two efforts to come to agreement in moving the project forward. The first thing I think we ought to note is that in terms of cost to the city, the way we've worked this out is that basically it will net out to zero. There's two things that are important here. One is that we'll make a payment to Mr. Beitler in regards to his rights to the podium and above it of $700,000. But in return, he has agreed to some modifications to the original terms in regards to scheduling the availability of Block 105, which is going to save the city $700,000, since we will not have to, in effect, fill in an empty hole. So in regards to those two elements, I think we ought to understand that the net cost will come out even. Second thing is that, and this is probably the most significant element in regards to what's new in this proposal, is an agreement that Beitler will give up his rights to Block 88. And in fact, a portion of that $700,000 is to recognize that he's giving up rights and that he has incurred expenses in preparation of that block in terms of design, architectural, and engineering elements. This is something that was articulated by several members of the City Council in rejecting the last proposal. So we have achieved that at this point. Now, one of the things that has been requested in return, which I think is very reasonable, is that whoever we have develop Block 88 not build another hotel on that site for 20 years. I don't see that as a difficulty. We do need, and that's what started this, we do need a second hotel within a 2-block walking distance from Monona Terrace, and that's because of our ability to bring in larger conventions and visitor groups. But we really don't have, with any reason in any reasonable near future, any ability to bring in meetings that would require a third hotel. And so certainly at this juncture, that should be recognized. One of the older provisions in a previously rejected proposal still remains, and that is one where the timetable for his constructing the hotel, which was to be within 2 years of delivery of the site to Beitler, has been reduced to 18 months, a year and a half. Now, I know there's some wags out there who say, well, that doesn't provide any firm deadline in terms of when the hotel has to be completed. But obviously, anyone who would start construction would want it completed as soon as possible. There's been some statements made about the Beitler organization. I just want to review some of them as we go into Tuesday's meeting. One is that Mr. Beitler and his organization is litigious. Well, we've done an examination of litigation that involves the company. And a review of court documents shows that there's only one really noteworthy case, and that's one that in 2013 involved the River Eagle investment property in Moline, Illinois. And it's evident from that and subsequent suits, though we don't know all the details, that it was Mr. Beitler's effort to get extracted from an agreement with a individual or company with very questionable ties. There's also litigation where, acting as a property manager, tenants who didn't pay their rent were sued. And we don't think that in any way reflects on someone being litigious. There was one matter that was of a personal nature, and obviously that has nothing to do with our business. And of course, we're aware of the suit that he brought against the city of Madison that has been dismissed. So the record's very clear that these claims are quite exaggerated. They are inflated, and they were simply designed to create chaos and distrust. The second claim is that their organization has not constructed any projects recently, and that's true. They have not been involved in constructing any new projects since 2001, but they have done much in terms of performing acquisitions and redevelopments through the 1990s and into the first years of this century. And of course, since the recession, a lot of developers have been very slow, including local Madison and Wisconsin developers, to return to development. Then there's the issue of the flag, of getting the license from a major hotel brand. And it's real simple. We are premature, their company is premature in obtaining a license or a flag at this time. They're not far enough in the development process to do that. So we've had some inflammatory and exaggerated statements made about this company. We have got a proposed agreement here which will get us a hotel. It will mean that some critical members of the city council will hopefully have what they want. First, moving up the time frame from which he can construct the hotel. That has been shortened from 2 years to 1.5 years. And secondly, they are giving up their rights to develop Block 88. So, any questions?
At this time, have you heard from any other interested developers in that block? If this were all to pass?
I've heard that there's some developers out there that are interested. I want to point out that Mr. Beitler had agreed to do Block 88 without a TIF. I have not heard of any developers who are interested in doing Block 88 without a TIF. So anybody who's got a proposal, I think that has to be taken with a grain of salt. Any other questions? Have we covered it all?
Well, I guess hypothetically, what would you expect would happen if this proposed agreement is rejected for the third time?
I don't think there's much question that we'll end up in litigation. Rejecting it is asking for a lawsuit, which would be very tragic considering we started out as a city with a singular objective, which was to get a second hotel built in walking distance to Monona Terrace. And this is something that the Beitler organization really wants to complete. All right, we're good? Thank you. You want, we'll get you caught up. Yes,
I have a question.
Yeah.
And this is not, this is something off topic here. I have a question. Since David Aaron's here, and, you know, we've had the recent lawsuit filed against the city, what is your stand on that?
I'm not going to get involved in anything where Mr. Ahrens opens his mouth. I will rely on the city attorney on issues regarding litigation and in regards to the propriety of liquor licenses.
And also, we've just inaugurated a new governor. Do you think there'll be any synergy now between the state and the city?
Well, we expect it. I mean, certainly given Tony Evers' position on so many issues, starting with his recent announcement that he'd like to see the state do something in terms of the incarceration of so many of our fellow Wisconsinites, many of whom should have been released a while ago. That to me indicates that we've got a promising future. But I also think in certain other areas dealing with transportation, whether we're talking about Wisconsin's inadequate roads or the need to strengthen public transit, particularly in our region as well as in the Fox River Valley, good things are going to happen. Lastly, I could go on and on, but I'll just add one more, which is the opioid epidemic. The opioid epidemic principally needs to be addressed as a matter of health care, as a matter of treatment, as a matter of support, and a matter of reducing the stigma of addiction. And I believe that his administration will follow that path. Okay? All right, somebody came in a little late, but we'll stay for that. Those of you who want to leave, please feel free.